it's time for a bit of news and a bit of a breakdown of what's going on in motorcycling in 2017. Now, the biggest news for me is that Norton is joining the racing ranks again in 2017. They've released their flagship sports bike, which I think might be the first time in a long time Norton's been competitive in racing. They've announced a V4 Super Sport. The bike looks absolutely fantastic. There's a couple of things I don't like about it. I'm going to explain that to you now. So, what they've done in developing the bike is they started with racing in the Isle of Man at the TT, developed the bike and everything like that. Now they've decided they want to go with a V4 engine configuration, which is the same as the Aprilia. Now, when it comes to budget and designing and developing a bike, engine development in particular costs a lot of money, mostly because it's very hard to predict what horsepower and torque characteristics you're going to get out of the engine, even in a design phase. You don't really know till you've built it, tested it and all the rest of it. So they decided they wanted to go with a V4 for obvious reasons. The V opposition provides really good torque, usually from about the mid to 3/4 rev range, and your peak horsepower, while respectable, isn't off the charts but comes in very high in the rev range, but not as high as the inline fours, which tends to lean towards reliability a little bit more because the engine isn't as highly strung. Now, for me, if I was building my own bike, especially a smaller company like Norton, I know they've been around for a long time, but the Norton factory, let me paint you a picture, is pretty much just someone's shed with 4 Guy Martin types sitting around drinking cups of tea and turning spanners on bikes. So in that respect, they're a very small firm, but what they've done is they didn't want to use the Aprilia engine because they want to build their own engine and design it and all the rest of it. So what they've done is, instead of going for 1000cc like Aprilia have done, they've gone for a 1200cc, which is fine. But then instead of using the Aprilia base and just stroking or boring the block to get the extra capacity out to get the requirements they're looking for, they've actually built their own engine from the ground up, and they crap on in the article about idler cam setups and all this bullshit that really means nothing to people like you and me. So what I've got on the board behind me here, I hope you can see it properly, if not I'm just going to talk to you about it anyway, is a breakdown of what's what and what the end result is for Norton, which makes this, as much as it's a good looking bike, has lots of promise, I'm going to have to give it a 4 out of 10 for the way they've gone about releasing it. So let's have a look. Just over here you've got the Aprilia. So Aprilia RSV4, V4 engine, 1000cc, power output 201 horsepower, torque 115 newton meters of torque, 26k right away too. That's not plus on roads or anything like that. Then you compare that with, if you think European bikes, you have to chuck the Ducati in there for a bit of a comparison. L-twin, so 2 cylinders less, 90-degree opposition though. I think these guys are using Aprilia are using a 60-degree V, and I think Norton are using a 63-degree V or a 65-degree V, which will come into the increased torque they've got, which we'll talk about later. But Ducati L-twin, so 90-degree V, they've got 300 cc's more than the Aprilia, 100 cc's more than the Norton. You've got 205 horsepower and a whopping 144 newton meters of torque. Now I'll tell you, I've got one of these bikes, that's no joke, and the torque comes in at just a little bit over 8,000 RPM. It's awesome. Right away, no, that's not the right away price, sorry, but that'll set you back 30k plus on roads. Then let's talk about flagship supersport bikes. Everyone knows it, everyone loves it. It's a Yamaha R1, inline 4-cylinder, 1000cc, sorry. You've got 200 horsepower, 99.3 newton meters of torque. Now I've put an asterisk there because I couldn't actually find anything official from Yamaha that say the torque figure, so I've had to pull that off a third-party website, so you'll have to take that with a grain of salt, but that'd be pretty accurate for a 1000cc inline 4, I reckon. and right away from 20k, depending on where you shot, but it'll be around that figure. Then you've got the Norton. Now this is the drama that I was talking about before. When you go to all the effort to develop your own engine purely for nothing else than achieving independence, so you haven't had to use someone's base, this is what happens. Built their own engine from the ground up, allegedly nothing like anything else. They've even changed the angle of the V just to be different. So you've got V4. Now you've got 200 cc's more than the Aprilia. The result is same horsepower. Congratulations, Norton. Well done. Same as Aprilia. 200 cc's extra. Extra weight, not great. 130 newton meters of torque. So with 200 cc's extra capacity, you've managed to increase the torque by 15 newton meters over the Aprilia. Now, like I was talking about earlier, what's the bottom line of developing your own engine is all about cost. Have a go at the cost. 45,000 Australian dollars to put a Norton V4 in your garage. Now, I've spoken to some Norton dealers. They reckon that we're not going to see them in Australia, which doesn't surprise me. There'll be a bunch of guys out there with truckloads of money that are Norton diehards that'll want to put one in their garage, which is fine. But to me, Norton, not great, man. Not great. I could buy the R1 and the Aprilia for the cost of this. And your bike isn't, at the end of the day, with torque and horsepower figures like this, it's not offering me any more than anything else has. So, I'm sorry guys, Norton, you fucked up.